You're listening to The Politics Show with Will Walker, Tom Drysdale, and Jay Mann on Burton Radio.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
Welcome to The Politics Show.
If only that was true. That I suppose in his eyes it probably is.
That button gets more and more controversial each week, I'm pretty certain. But welcome back as another Tuesday evening on the Burton Radio live.
It is.
We're going to have to wrap this one up pretty quickly. We're going to be off at 8 sharpish because there is a live... Not Gresley, no, it's the Birmingham. As you're following the Turkish Super Cup, which we'll come on to, it is the Birmingham County FA Senior Challenge Cup between Hednesford Town. I got that right.
Hensford.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Hednesford or whatever. Whatever. Against Burton Albion. It's live at 8 p.m. on our...
What
radio.
level is this?
This is the Birmingham County FA Senior.
Yeah, it's senior, so it's over retirement age.
I think it just means like over 20. It'll be the youth teams that are playing and all that sort of stuff.
Ah, okay, interesting. Live commentary.
Yeah, live commentary on the radio. So all pretty good stuff, anyways. But we're also streaming live on YouTube.
I thought you were going to wrap it up like immediately. Then you were like, you came in and you're like,
to
we're
go.
going to have to going to wrap this up real quick. Yeah, I thought
we're going to have to depart.
Thought it was dipping in and out. I thought we were going right now. I was like, making preparations to.
Yeah, to like leave.
Yeah.
I think there might be a couple of people who get bored, or one person in particular who gets bored from this program that might wish we've left.
We'll see.
Yeah, Will is predisposed watching the Turkish Super Cup, and who's playing again? Will.
So this is Fethiye Sport. So anybody who's been to one of the main holiday regions of Turkey will have probably know the town of Fethiye. What they probably won't know is their football team. Now I know people who are involved in that football team, and I know not in the playing side, or who have been involved in that football team in the past. And I also know people who are actually in the ground tonight watching Galatasaray, Fethiye Sport and Galatasaray, which is probably the biggest game in there, certainly in recent history. But the only downside is for a Turkish town where the economy is not the greatest greatest of all. It was about £100 a ticket.
That is a lot.
They've fleeced people, but they filled it.
Well, yeah, it's Galatasaray.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to fill it. I mean, this means nothing to Jay.
No.
But Galatasaray are probably arguably the biggest team.
One of the three biggest teams in Turkey, and it's probably like Manchester United or Chelsea or Liverpool coming to Burton Albion.
Right.
That's what the size of it is.
But fun fact, when I went to Istanbul, most people I met supported Besiktas.
Yeah, they do.
Besiktas is like the fans' favourite team, in my opinion.
Yeah. They're a fantastic group. I mean, I remember when Besiktas came to Stoke.
Yeah.
In the Europa League, and they're incredible people, mental fans.
They are. They love their football.
Absolutely.
When I went to Istanbul, I saw Istanbul Başakşehir play, which is the Recep Erdogan team.
Yes, it is.
Very much the Erdogan team, and I think they won the league a few years, and there was a lot of accusations that it was bought, which is quite funny.
Anyway, it's obviously I have plenty of Stoke shirts, but I got given this a Fethiye Sport shirt.
That's cool. That's not many people probably have a shirt like that.
No, not many people probably do. So I got given this, so I'm wearing it tonight in honour of, not that I believe they got a chance, although it is 0-0 at the minute.
Very.
But I expect Galatasaray to win the game at some point. But it's certainly giving it a real fight. That's what we can say.
Absolutely. Well, we've got plenty to talk about on tonight's show. We've got a few bits in the UK, which and something actually quite local has happened.
Try and squeeze in two local things, actually.
Oh, two local things. We like two local things.
Your opinion on something. See what you think.
Especially
Jay's one as the outsider. And sort of the average voter. See what he thinks about it.
I do respond to that, Jay.
The average voter.
Yeah, I don't know if that's usually how people would describe me, but yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, I've always looked at you and thought you were very sort of middle England average guy. Yeah,
like the political weather vane.
Just right down the middle.
Yeah. They're the people that you get in a focus group, 100%. Yeah. Shall we start off with the big news though that's come out of the States once again, because
which bit?
Well, I think most people would probably want to hear our thoughts on the. Well, there's two parts in there, but there's the ICE killing in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yes.
The shooting of Renee Good, a 37-year-old
Yes.
white woman, U.S. citizen,
Yeah.
who was shot fatally by an ICE agent when they claim she was trying to run the ICE agent over. Many people say that she was actually trying to get away from the scene, but in many cases it has caused a lot of controversy and has become, I think, sort of the big thing for the Trump regime and ICE and mass deportations, and many people are thinking about whether or not this is probably possibly become representative of it. So, I mean, we can start there.
Absolutely.
Will, did you see the video?
I have. I've seen both. I've seen all the videos actually, and no matter which one you see, it just gets more and more shocking. You know, this lady was killed quite in cold blood with no intent. You know, there was quite clearly she wasn't being run over. I think that was pretty obvious to say that. And it was a completely unprovoked and unnecessary attack on this poor woman, and and she's now, her kids have been left without a mother because of what seems to be an aggressive SS style force that is out of control.
Yeah, and this is the big question I think a lot of people are asking at this moment in time is ICE have clearly deployed this policy of being extremely aggressive, turning up fully armed, massed in many different communities. The reason why they're in sort of Minnesota, Minneapolis is because of the large Somali immigrant population in that region, which has come under some fire in right-wing media for fraud and daycare and that sort of thing. But it's interesting to see how what's made this story even more interesting is how sort of if you split people on sides politically, like I think a lot of people tend to do with these kind of stories, the development of almost two different narratives with one side of the political spectrum saying, okay, this is an extrajudicial killing, and this is, as you would say, epitomizes an SS style force that or a force that is out of control and has no bounds to it. There's no control. There's no any controls on it whatsoever. And the other side of things, where they're saying, "Oh, she tried to run him over. He was lucky not to have died, and she brought it upon herself." And it almost encapsulates the polarization in America, which is what made this story quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly does, and it's just added fuel to the fire. And it's only round the corner from where George Floyd was killed by the police about 5 years ago. I mean, we've spoken before about ICE on this program, and their sort of antics to try and stop mass migration and to try and remove citizens from the US. It's not. It's a kind of sort of symbol of this kind of lurch to the right that's going on everywhere, and they're. What struck me is just how out of control they are, and how out of control the narrative behind them is. I mean, I've seen things over the weekend that were saying that they don't have any training. You could literally be anybody to be an ICE agent. You don't have to have a police background or military background or anything like that. It's just they will take anyone to go and do the job for them, and I can't see from what I've seen any way where Renee Good is at fault for this. There is no evidence to back that up, and it just seems like the people around Donald Trump and him are just trying to make up this story to try and justify themselves and the actions of ICE.
It's been interesting because even before there had been an investigation Donald Trump was calling this person, the Trump administration was calling Renee Good a domestic terrorist, a left-wing lunatic, that she was trying to kill this ICE agent. And, I mean, people have seen the videos. And what makes this really interesting is it's almost a propaganda kind of tactic, is that they're going to repeat this whole idea that she was trying to kill this person, she was trying to injure this person, when people can look at the video and almost see that might not be the case, or it might not be, that's not as simple as it is. You can't make it that simple. I also don't understand how you're meant to have an agent, a federal agent, who is meant to be trained to deal with high-pressure situations, and yet the person that, to these people who are saying that she's in the wrong, are expecting a civilian who's probably not ever been in these high-pressure situations to deal with that situation properly, and the agent not deal with that situation properly and actually deploy fatal and lethal force in a situation which probably didn't need to be escalated to that point.
It made me smile, because even the video that was released allegedly from the ICE agent's body cam, or the other ICE agent's body cam that was there, didn't prove anything.
But it doesn't,
other than the fact that this woman's innocent.
Yeah, I don't think any of the videos prove, categorically that what they're trying to say. It's a really interesting that they will push this narrative and this line, and yet it is almost, and I hate the always use of comparisons to 1984, and as I don't believe your eyes and all that. But it is that. They're saying, ignore the video. We're telling you what this means.
Yeah, exactly.
Ignore the facts of the video.
Exactly.
Show.
That's exactly what it is. This is why I think you're starting to notice a lot more of the media turn around and say what we're starting to see in America now is that lurch towards fascism. These are the beginning steps. They're not now just being nationalistic anymore. They're starting to control narrative, or attempting to control narrative and control propaganda and things in a way that only authoritarian states do, and combine that with the aggressive sorts of imperialism that the US are promoting at the moment. I think it's a scary time.
I think it's scary. You're seeing the deployment of the National Guard in multiple different cities, and you've seen the amount of money that ICE have got and the DHS have got from the Big Beautiful Bill increase massively. They're the most well-funded federal law agency in America by far. So they're going to have lots of agents who are going to buy into this sort of Stephen Miller-esque agenda, who Stephen Miller is, if you look into his backstory and his political beliefs, is some people would find him a very reprehensible character. And this is not going to stop. This is what they wanted. This is what, when they said mass deportations now, this is exactly what they meant.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's not a place I'd want to visit at the minute, America.
Honestly, I think it's put quite a few people off. Yeah. The New York Times have got an article here saying that this shooting is the 9th ICE shooting since September. In the last 4 months alone, immigration officers have fired on at least 9 people in 5 states and Washington, D.C. All of the individuals targeted in those shootings were, like the woman killed on Wednesday, fired on while in their vehicles. In each case, the officials have claimed the agents fired in self-defense, fearing they would be struck by the vehicle. At least one person died as a result of the shootings. In September, immigration officers pulled over a man driving a Subaru in a busy street outside of Chicago. The man, a Mexican immigrant named Silvero Villegas Gonzalez, was shot and killed less than a minute later. Homeland Security officials said that Mr. Gonzalez had hit and dragged one of the officers with the car, but that officer who shot him was acting in self-defense. But Times analysis of the video calls into question key aspects of the government's account. A following month, a Mexican man living in Los Angeles was shot during a traffic stop where the man was targeted for immigration enforcement. Federal officials said the man, Carlitos Ricardo Perez, had tried to ram officers as he fled the scene, and Homeland Security officers fired shots, hitting the man in the elbow. A federal marshal was struck in the hand by a ricochet bullet. Days later, an American citizen was shot in the shoulder by an immigration agent near a bus stop in a suburb of East Los Angeles. Lawyers of the man, Carlos Jimenez, said he had asked federal agents to move away from the area where school children were soon to be gathering. Mr. Jimenez's lawyers said that he was later shot as he was driving away, but federal prosecutors accused him of pulling forward and accelerating towards an officer. So this is not the first case, according to the New York Times, of this sort of thing happening, and the Trump administration and federal officials using the defense of they're in a vehicle, they're looking to ram the officers, then they put the officer in a dangerous position to justify these shootings. Jay, I want to get your perspective on things here. I showed you one of the videos, or some of the video earlier today. What's your sort of view on this?
Yeah, it didn't look like someone was being reckless with a vehicle. I know that much. And it didn't look like a situation where I would have guessed it would have ended in a fatal shooting either. Like, it looked like there was an altercation. There was people, there were agents on the streets. But at some point, like, somebody grabbed at the door and was yelling at the person in the car. And they were looks like they were just trying to escape something. But I don't know in any other circumstance where somebody, has had some sort of, I don't know, there's been words said to somebody outside, and then there is, in this case, agents of some capacity. I don't know why that should ever end up in someone being shot dead. These what is their job as an ICE agent? Because they're supposed to be enforcing some sort of immigration or whatever. So why are they just killing random civilians all of a sudden? That doesn't seem like that's part of their job description, or it doesn't seem like it's part of what they do at all. It seemed very bizarre to see that happen in the way that it did. It reminded me of the shootings of lots of African American citizens when that was all happening, because that seemed to be a pattern in that, and there were just people just sitting in their cars, people unarmed doing things. It's a show of force, isn't it? By the looks of it, it's a show of force, and I mean, like you say, it looks like it's a scary place right now. Maybe that's what they want you to think, that it's a scary place. Like maybe it's part of a fear tactic, but. Because I'd be scared to be living there right now. If it you're just in your car and you can just get shot by these people. That's horrendous. And why is nothing being done about this? Like what needs to happen
They do look like paramilitaries as well.
They do, yeah.
You look at them; they're all military type uniform, masked up. They look like proper, like a proper force almost to me.
But I mean, why are they? It didn't make sense that it's okay for them to be armed if they're just going to be firing at whoever they decide is on their bad side that day. That doesn't seem like a good idea in my opinion. So yeah, that's very weird though, that this is one of several that's happened in just people in their vehicles. Like it's a new sort of thing to hide behind. Like, if you're in a vehicle, then suddenly you're a danger. Is that right? Like a trained agent? Is that something they fear on the battlefield? People in vehicles? Is that the number one enemy all of a sudden? Like,
I think if you was on the battlefield, you wouldn't fear a vehicle, would you?
Surely, yeah. But, I mean, unless it's a tank coming towards you and it's not just a citizen driving their car.
I suppose they would probably be told that, it's a legitimate sort of terrorist risk of somebody in a vehicle, because we've seen endless attacks of people in vehicles driving into crowds, but one person in a residential street,
exactly,
with a few people around, maybe shouting at like what they were in the video, there was no risk to that.
I mean, unfortunately kind of desensitized to this, because this is not the first video we've seen of people opening fire on someone who's clearly just going about their business, and it's probably not going to be the last, unfortunately.
I have seen one video which was quite, you might have seen this, an ICE agent trying to go after somebody and then slipping over in the ice.
No.
Ironically not.
Oh, really? The ice bites back.
and having to kind of disappear in embarrassment. I can't go and get the guy now. No.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting situation, and it seems like the Trump administration are fully behind the ICE agent, which is unsurprising. JD Vance said that the guy has absolute immunity, and according to reports, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehensions offered a joint investigation with the FBI into the incident. And the FBI said, no, this is a federal issue only. So the Trump administration will be investigating its own self and will be coming to its own conclusions.
Oh, sure. The ultimate tale of corruption, yeah.
Sure, that will be fair and just.
But that's the other element of it. I mean, the amount of corruption is rife in the Trump administration. I mean, you would have seen the video of Jerome Powell. I think this is the other big one. Will, did you see the video of Jerome Powell?
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah, the one where he's now being investigated. Apparently the DOJ have issued a grand jury subpoena to the Federal Reserve over comments that Jerome Powell made about building renovations of the Federal Reserve offices. Obviously, for people with the backstory, is Trump's not been very happy with Jerome Powell since Trump put him as the head of the federal chair because he won't lower interest rates. And the Federal Reserve makes economic decisions out of the basis of not from the president's recommendation, because the president would want lower interest rates regardless of the economic circumstances, but based on long-term economic trends. He came out and saying the only reason he's been issued this is because he's not lowered interest rates and Trump wants him to do what he wants and not what economists recommend. So again, it's just indicative of the Trump administration because they are, I suppose, they are corrupt.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, they are threatening virtually every corner of the world that doesn't agree with Donald Trump.
I love the fact that they're going to save Iranian citizens by bombing them.
Yes.
Yeah, they're gonna stop the Iran government killing Iranians by bombing Iran.
We're going to save the Iranian people who are being slaughtered on the street for protesting against a brutal and truly horrible regime in Iran. The Americans are going to come to the rescue by dropping bombs.
I mean,
really smart. But there you go. And Greenland, of course, Greenland is the prize catch apparently.
Yeah, well, if they don't have it, Russia or China will, and we can't have Russia as a neighbour to the United States.
They've already got it. I mean, has he forgotten about Alaska and the Bering Strait? They've already got it. But apparently, according to the Danish Defence Select Committee spokesperson that was being interviewed on chair that was being interviewed on Sky at the weekend, that there is no evidence to say that China or Russia want Greenland at all.
They don't.
Yeah. No, I can't say I've ever heard that, that conversation.
Yeah.
How many times has that come up over the last few years? China's really interested in Greenland right now.
Really interested in Greenland. I think China can look after itself in most things. But why would they want to take Greenland? When they can sort it out themselves. The Danes, of course, and then, of course, the question goes back to Denmark, going, well, you're an imperialist power. Why not let the Danes decide? And the Danes go, well, Greenland has the opportunity to do that. It has a way out for its own independence if it wants to. It's choosing to stay part of Denmark.
I mean, yeah, well.
I'd feel a lot safer being part of Denmark.
I just raised the question. I mean, if you gave China the choice now of Taiwan or Greenland, I mean, in Trump's side, they're always taking Greenland, really, aren't they? Yeah, obviously,
aren't they? Clearly.
I mean, Russia, if they want Ukraine or Greenland, they clearly, obviously, want Greenland more because that makes total sense.
It's all really been about Greenland. We all know this at this point.
Of course,
obviously, Greenland that's the end goal for everybody, really.
The same Americans that have actually closed the military bases that they previously had on Greenland.
Yep. I saw Shane Gillis, I think it was Shane Gillis, sort of short or whatever, and he was like, do you reckon that Trump's fallen for like the Vikings ploy back when they're thinking because they're called Greenland because they're green and actually he really wants Iceland, but he doesn't realise the difference between the two.
Trump seems like somebody who does not know the difference between the two places.
Or doesn't care.
Yeah. He doesn't care. No. I mean, he was supposed to have dropped bombs on militants in Nigeria, wasn't he, over Christmas? And of course, and he was going around talking about what a great success it was, and it landed. Instead of killing the people it was supposed to target, it landed in the middle of two villages, and missed completely.
Wow.
What a solid military operation.
Yeah. I bet they're happy they spend all of that money on the.
Yeah, I bet they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet they are.
Money well spent there.
Well, there you go. I think that's probably enough America talk.
I think it is before people wonder if we've turned actually into the American politics show.
Yeah, I would say the Americast, but that's an actual thing. I think
Yeah.
the Guardian do that. So
yeah, it is,
yeah.
yeah, we won't.
And if the Americast want to sponsor Burton Radio,
we're quite happy to have some guest appearances.
yeah.
You know.
Although I do think actually the Guardian aren't really making any money right now, so they might not be in the position to throw out sponsorship like that. Nevertheless, I think we should move on to things more at home. I think reform's the one that's been in the news mostly.
Making waves again.
Making waves,
Thought it.
yeah. I mean, yeah, making waves again. We've got a couple of reform stories.
Yes.
Let's start with Nadeem Zahawi, shall we?
Oh yes.
Former Chancellor of the Exchequer and multiple cabinet position Tory, former Tory Nadeem Zahawi has defected to the Reform Party. Now, for those of you who don't know, Nadeem Zahawi was kicked out of the cabinet for not paying his tax bill by the tune of quite a lot of money. If you think Angela Rayner's stamp duty was bad, have a look at how much Nadeem Zahawi owed HMRC.
Oh yes.
Because it was a slight lot more than what Angela Rayner allegedly owed, which is interesting for me because all the reform people are like, she didn't pay her taxes properly, and they've just got Nadeem Zahawi in.
Yeah.
But I think the wider story here is that this is a continuation of a long line of Tories that have ended up joining the Reform Party. And my question to you two is, are Reform the new Tories?
The new old reinvented Back to the Future Tories, more like. It's like a second, like a retirement home for ex Boris Johnson cabinet ministers, isn't it? Really?
Oh yeah, it is.
At the minute, we've got several of them that are in reform. Andrea Jenkin, of course. What a great singer. Nadeem Dorries, Nadeem Zahawi. There's the amount of them could go on. Even the Labour Party, and they've got many faults at the minute. They described it as like I think that was the words, a retirement home for the Tories. Well, it kind of is. It looks like the Tory party, Boris Johnson's Tories 2.0. It's the establishment. It's the establishment. Everything Nigel Farage says he isn't, in disguise. That's what it basically is. They've got a cloak. They are deliberately trying to mislead people into what they are. Nadeem Zahawi, very, very rich man, as I'm sure we'll find out when you get the figure up, because it was an extortionate amount of money. I can't remember how much it was, but it was a ridiculous amount of money that he owed to HMRC. He's also been known to be doing all sorts of business deals. He's the head of YouGov as well. Let's not forget. So I just think people need to see through this for what it is. It's Farage talks a good game, but in reality he's just he's leading the second coming of the Tory party. And that's ultimately what it's fast becoming.
Do you reckon, does this guy not get all those like scary emails and letters and stuff from HMRC then? Because like every time they want like a fiver off you, you'll get like a letter that's like, you owe us this money, and if you don't, there's gonna be consequences. Like they know how to scare you. Those guys,
In fact, any government letters like that.
Yeah, it's in a brown envelope of doom, and it's got like it's worded like a horror movie, and that's they don't even know what you owe them at that point. Just that you might owe them a tenner. In fact, they might owe you money, but they'll still send you that threatening letter.
I don't
to tell
think
them to
I don't
sort
think
it
they owed.
The letter is what the letter is the threat, and then it says
Yeah.
we owe you some tax.
Yeah,
back.
and it's like, oh, okay, all right. Well, we didn't. You didn't need to scare me that much, then, did you? But we know this guy owes this much money,
Yeah.
right? Why is he not bombarded by letters?
Well,
it should be like the first Harry Potter in his house.
Allegedly, the estimated tax bill settlement that he had to settle, reported by our friends of The Guardian, again, if you want to sponsor, we're more still here, I'll pass you my email, was reported at the time to be £3.7 million with a 30% penalty. So it was bringing the total sum to over £5 million.
5 million.
£5 million.
Why do I even get a letter from these guys? If this guy owes 5 million, you're never going to get 5 million. I could live forever and you'd never get 5 million.
Yeah, but he's going to stop the boats, isn't he?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter about
So,
him
yeah.
owing £5 million, in tax. And I think it's worth just taking that in. If you are a Reform voter and you are a working class person, you go to work each morning and things like that, take that figure in. This guy is now going to be what is ultimately going to be a leading figure in Reform, because Farage will rely on experienced former Tory ministers to be able to get anywhere close to any kind of competency. Zahawi owed £5 million. That's money that most people could dream about.
Yeah.
It is, and I always found it really galling that man also set tax policy.
Yeah, he did
for a while, because he was the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and he owed HMRC a ridiculous sum of money.
Yeah.
He
was the head of it because he was the Chancellor. He was the head of the tax office and the Treasury.
That's what I mean. It's even worse when you put that into context. This is a man who inextricably knew tax codes and actually managed them and would pass bills and legislation and budgets. Which would
like Tulip Siddiqui, really, being corrupt minister.
But there's levels to the game.
There is, absolutely.
And this is a level that's like mad. But yeah, he's a part of a long list of Tories that have now defected to Reform. Layla Cunningham, the London mayoral candidate, is former
She's
Tory as
another
well. Lee Anderson, chairperson of the Reform Party, former Tory. Tim Montgomery.
40p Lee.
Yeah, 40p Lee.
40p Lee.
30p Lee.
I've took 10p off him.
You've added 10p onto
I've
him.
added 10p on him. 30p Lee. 30p Lee.
Tim Montgomery, who was formerly a Boris Johnson advisor and runs Conservative Home and was former Times editor. He's now defected to Reform. Danny Kruger, Jonathan Gullis. I mean...
Oh, yes, of course, Jonathan Gullis.
The list goes on and on and on. And the question is, people who vote Reform, and I think... This is going to be interesting to see if this actually has any impact on the polls or anything like that, because people who vote Reform, from my understanding, is because they're annoyed about the two-party system that has been dominated this country in terms of Labour and the Conservatives, and these people not representing their ideas. But now, the Reform Party has taken multiple people from the Tory Party into the Reform Party to be under Nigel Farage. Aren't they just going to be the same? Is that? This is why I genuinely ask the question: are they just now the Tory party?
Yeah, it does seem like it's going that way. Isn't part of the the name Reform, like, isn't that trying to incite some sort of change or some sort of difference? So it's like we need to sort out all that stuff from all those guys that kind of ruin stuff for us. But then if you get all of those guys that ruin stuff for you into your party, it doesn't really. I can't imagine you're going to get much of a difference, are you, really? But, we did say, earlier on in this, later last year, I suppose, that the Tories were kind of just becoming very irrelevant. They were kind of going by the wayside, and we were like, well, what are they going to do? Because really nobody cares what they've got to say at this point. Like, where are they all going to go? And I guess we found our answer to that.
To be fair to Kemi, and... she is starting to shout a lot louder at the minute.
Yeah.
Now, the argument seemed to be is vote for us because we're the competent version of reform, but she is shouting a lot louder and a lot more coherently. That is literally all the Tories seem to be saying is we think we can do what Reform are saying because we've got the experience to do it, whereas they can't because they've got no experience.
Not sure that's not sure that pitch is solid, but yeah. But fair play, I guess.
So apparently, in a pre-recorded video before walking on stage at a press conference, Zahawi said that Britain was, quote, broken. He said nothing works, there is no growth, there is crime on our streets, there is an avalanche of illegal migration that anywhere else in the world would be a national emergency. I have made up my mind that the team that will deliver for this nation will be the team that Nigel will put together, and that is why I've decided to I'm joining Reform.
Is that the same Nigel he said was sick?
I mean, let's not quote any Tories about what they said about Nigel Farage about 5 to 10 years ago, because
it was quite funny. It was quite amusing though, watching that being thrown back at him in the press conference yesterday. Yeah,
I mean, because it's true. I mean, these people had very poor opinions of Nigel Farage in the past, but now obviously seem to like him. Zahawi said Badenoch had the baggage of a defunct brand before Farage said the election in Scotland, Wales and English Council this May would be a point where the Conservatives would cease to be a national party. To be fair, possibly not wrong. But Hollenrake suggested that Zahawi thwarted personal ambition was linked to his decision to defect, telling BBC he'd been unsuccessful in pressing his case for a Conservative period with people very close to Kemi. Oh, interesting that the Tories are throwing that one out there. So, I mean, it's interesting, this. Do you think this will have much of an impact on reform policy going forward?
Let's take one policy example, the 2-child benefit cap. Reform wanted to scrap that. Most of these, all of these ex-Tories that they brought in voted to enforce it.
And haven't they changed their tune on that, saying it will only be for working people?
That may be true, but it still makes a mockery of it.
Yeah, I mean,
because you can't then go out and say, oh, I don't like this anymore, but I voted for it all these years ago.
Well, you can.
You can.
You absolutely can if you are shameless.
Yeah.
And you realise there is a record. Don't realise or don't care that there's a record of people voting or having these things.
There's a thing called Hansard. It's very useful. You know, they should try it sometime.
He was questioned on whether or not the concerns about allegations of racism against his new party leader by more than 30 school peers, claims that are denied by Farage, of course.
Of course they are.
I mean,
that's like Staffordshire County Council, isn't it? Denying that they've got problems.
Well, we'll
with reform.
We'll come on to Staffordshire County Council, I'm sure. But I mean, that's a number, though, isn't it? I mean, if you have one or two people, you can plausibly deny it because you're like, well, they might have misremembered something. But you got 30 people. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of people. I mean, you know, we can't even fit 30 people in this room.
On the balance of probabilities.
Was Farage racist at school? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
If I thought the man sitting next to me had any way a problem with people of my colour, I wouldn't be sitting next to him, is what he said.
No, I think what the actual problem is not so much colour anymore, it's privilege. So I think he's quite happy, like with Yusuf, for example. He's a very privileged man.
Yeah. And
so it's okay, if you've got a silver spoon in your mouth, absolutely, I'll be your friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you actually said this quite earlier, and it was Liberal Democrat MP Manuela Pertigella said Reform is becoming the retirement home for disgraced former Conservative ministers.
That's another name to add to the list, isn't it?
Manuela Pertigella. Yes.
Yeah. That's up there, right up there.
Yeah.
A Liberal Democrat MP of Stratford-on-Avon.
Oh, Zahawi's former seat.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
so it makes it even better.
Zahawi's old seat there.
Well, there you go. I mean, she.
I think it's. I would suspect it's a lady, Manuela.
Yeah, you're the feminine in that. Yep, a she, and Italian-British-born Democrat politician, Liberal Democrat politician.
Manuela Pertigella. No, I forget that. That's a cool name.
if you want to come onto the show.
Hey, yeah.
Manuela, we've always got time for you. Always got
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
Like Terry Jeremy, come on.
Yeah. Always a big fan of Sarah Jeremy.
I got to ask, Terry Jeremy's his main worth of credit is the fact that he now occupies Liz Truss's seat. He's the one that defeated Liz Truss.
Even better.
Yeah.
Despite the reputation preceding Liz Truss.
Especially now.
Yes.
Um,
Well, Farage said that Farage and Reform endorsed Liz Truss and the budget, her mini budget, So,
Because I would always trust Farage with economics. I mean, this is another thing that I remember back in 2015, an economist did like reviews on people's manifestos, and they were like, Labour's is austerity, and Conservative is more austerity, and UKIP's was incomprehensible, basically. And it's just made up, basically. And that's what, it is. The economic policy in the last manifesto was, we're going to raise the tax threshold to 20 grand. And it's like, how are you going to afford the billions of pounds that's going to do when someone tried to cut taxes without, and was just like, we're just going to borrow more. That was Liz Truss, and it was a bit of a problem when she did that. And I don't think Farage doing something similar would help.
yeah, exactly. Right. That's now Staffordshire.
Indeed, Staffordshire for the last 18 so minutes. You've been on Staffordshire, Will. Do you want to tell people what's been going on?
I've been on Staffordshire.
Yeah, you are a Staffordshire local politics expert.
I can look at everything in Staffordshire, Derbyshire, everywhere you like. But we discussed before Christmas about the racism scandal that engulfed the Reform-controlled Staffordshire County Council, and we muted the investigations into another Burton Reform County Councillor, and there was a lot of reports about a certain individual being recommended that they were likely to lose the whip. Now the report into one Barry Martin has now come out. Thanks, Stretton Parish Council actually published the report into the standards investigation into Barry Martin, which recommended that he does lose the Reform whip, so he no longer would be a member of the Reform group because he brought the council into disrepute. And one of the things I found in there as well was, which I found highly amusing in there, is that they criticised his communications.
Oh, really?
Yes. So if you want the statement that Stretton Parish Council gave, following a thorough investigation by the monitoring officer, an independent person, the first complaint lodged earlier this year was upheld. The findings confirm that aspects of Councillor Martin's behaviour breached the members' code of conduct. He's included inappropriate public comments on social media, repeatedly ignoring requests to speak to or email the council directly, and instead posting unclear and confusing messages on social media. Actions that risked bringing both the parish council and county council into disrepute. Staffordshire County Council suggested that Mr. Councillor Martin was asked to apologise and undertake code of conduct training. And then, as a second complaint submitted the 9th of September, detailing concerns about the councillor's use of local Facebook groups to post political content and repeated public posts instructing or naming parish contractors rather than following established channels by contacting the clerk. The complaint also described mischaracterizations of council's authority over parish responsibilities and difficulties obtaining constructive responses on matters within the council's remit. This has also been reviewed by the monitoring office, and the matter was subsequently considered by the standards panel on 10th of November and the Audit Standards Committee on the 9th of December, which resolved that the complaint be upheld, findings be published and reported to the Audit and Standards Committee, and complainants, including Stretton Parish Council, recommendations including removal of the councillor from current committees and outside bodies, and removal of the whip, subject to the group leader, and of course, additional code of conduct training.
So somebody's going for some training.
I think, what do we think about Barry? He's rather a, what shall we call it? Silly. He's not watching, not. He's going to push the button.
What? Oh.
He's a bit of a.
Oh, whoa.
You know,
You silly, twisted boy.
It was like the longest countdown ever.
I didn't realise what you guys were doing. You were just sort of throwing your hands over here, man. Like, come on. I've just read out 2 paragraphs
that's
and all
like
that.
that's like the universal
The sign.
for like.
Push the button.
It's over there somewhere.
But I think the question is: anyone surprised?
No, not in the slightest.
No. I mean, I'm surprised his communication wasn't good because he was a French teacher. So
Yeah.
you know, he
No,
should have been.
he could say it, Le Poisson Steve.
Yeah, exactly.
Sing Frère Jacques.
Yeah.
But you know, communicate. Can he write back to a resident or a parish council? Clearly not.
No.
Apparently, he'd been naming the different contractors and things in public.
That was said in the complaint there.
Yeah.
He'd been naming contractors and stuff instead of going through like the like council's contract, etc. Instead of going through the clerk, which is why they've recommended removing the whip. Question is, do you think they will remove his whip?
No, not in the slightest, because we've seen how they've handled and how they're continuing to handle how they've handled the race situation with Staffordshire County Council, and how the interim leader has stood up and tried to brush it all under the carpet by sort of saying, "Oh, we've dealt with that now, and we've got to move on." And but we can't move on because we've got 2 councillors in Councillor Large and, of course, Councillor Peter Mason that are still sitting on the cabinet. Of course, Peter Mason was wheeled out by Reform to go in front of the cameras last week to talk about gritting and the highways.
Yeah.
So it just shows you that they will not deal with it at all. And this is why, if Farage, going back to the previous conversation, but this is where they're all interlinked, if Farage wants to be serious about forming a government, the Back to the Future Tories are going to have to be around him, because it's clear that every other level he has a Reform presence with any kind of control. They are deeply incompetent, and there's flaws to every one of them.
Do you think, though, that the way in which they're dealing with this, which is the constant denials and the closing of ranks and the accusations of political bias, etc., doesn't that just come from the top anyways? Isn't that the Farage tactic? I mean, we've seen that with, for example, the racism accusations at school. Now, the thing about what's jarred me with that is not that it's surprising. It's not surprising he said stuff when he was a teenager, but it's the lack of taking any accountability for it. It's like you can't even apologize for something that impacted these people when he was younger. I mean, yeah, sure, it was like 40 years ago, whatever. You know, you can make the argument he was stupid back then, and it's not as bad as if as an adult, but it's still horrible, and you take accountability for it, right? And he's not done that. So isn't this just a continuation of how Reform deal with crisis?
I think so, and I think that's exactly what they're doing. You only got to look when the Peter Mason one broke, how quickly they all rallied round, including Tracy, of course, saying how wonderful it was to have a Reform wreath at the Arboretum.
Yeah, was it out? No, it was Orowas, wasn't it?
Or the Arboretum at Orowas, the distraction that was to things, you know. But you've only got to look at that and how quickly they rallied round to see that. It's kind of like it's kind of like, you know, don't pick on us sort of thing. We're fine at throwing mud and calling people saying all sorts of things about people who are completely innocent 95% of the time. But when there's an issue affecting ourselves, we don't like it. They're living in that glass house basically, and throwing stones. And when things get exposed about them, they don't like it.
No, they don't. They don't at all. Well,
but interestingly, speaking of that, we mentioned Peter Mason was out in front of the cameras last week during the bad weather and was grilled quite openly about how slow they'd been at responding to the cold weather and the gritting situation. But Staffordshire Conservatives, being the main opposition at the county, picked up on that and said, quite justifiably highlighted, hang on a minute, why is this person who shouldn't be on the cabinet still there? You know, this is a sign of Reform and the chaos, and you know that how they're doing down Staffordshire's reputation and things like that. It's quite an effective Facebook post, really, that they put out, shared by Burton and Talks to Labour Party. What do you think about different opposition political parties sharing each other's posts? Does it create a good image?
I actually am not against this idea, and I think when it comes down to calling out procedure and calling out this kind of behaviour, it really shouldn't be party political. And you know, if the Conservatives in Staffordshire County Council have made a strong point about this, like, there's nothing wrong saying, actually, yeah, I agree with that. That's fair enough. You know, you can put aside your fight with the Tories on this one, because you're right, Peter Mason shouldn't be on the cabinet anymore. He shouldn't be in his position because of the things he said and the recommendations that were made. So I actually would rather political parties sometimes go, like, actually, yeah, you got that right. Fair enough. I don't mind it.
What do you reckon?
I'm surprised they're allowed to do that in the first place. Like,
sharing each other's posts?
Yeah, whoever's like managing the groups and stuff that.
This is where the double standards kicks in, because the Labour Party creates this big thing of individual members are not allowed to like another political party's Facebook page or anything like that. But the party can share a political party's Facebook post.
Right.
Voting thing. You see the hypocrisy starting to appear. We've had cases where there's been cases where we've had pensioners who have been Labour Party members for 40 or 50 years expelled from the party because they liked a page from their local councillor or something who's a different political party, or people who've inadvertently been added to a Facebook group from another party without their knowledge.
Right.
Or in one case, one person, a charity volunteer locally, was tagged in a post by another candidate who visited that charity talking about the great work that they were doing, and they were excluded for going against the Labour Party.
What? Yeah,
So
that seems very extreme.
Spotting the double standards now. Why there's a difference between cross-party working on issues in town halls, in Parliament, and things like that, and then painting a very clear picture of what you can and can't do, and then going, oh, actually, I like what they say, so I'm going to share it as a local party branch.
Yeah.
Whilst at the same time, people within the organisation from top to bottom are constantly in fear of having their reputation tarnished.
Yeah, that seems pretty messed up.
It's messed up.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the other thing as well that makes it even more messed up is the Labour Party in particular has rules within it where if they find you to have done that, you cannot challenge the decision on their decision to exclude you. You have no opportunity to put your case forward.
What? So you're just out?
Yes.
Wow. That does seem extreme.
It saves you £5 a month.
Well, that's true.
It's a tight economy these days.
Yeah, that's true.
You should see my union subs. They've just gone up.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Mind you get a quality service for that.
Yeah.
And what did he say? Every cloud, I suppose. You know, if you're going to get kicked out, at least you say you could go and sign up for EA Play or something again, you know.
Do you think, on a serious point, that is a modern political party? Do you think that's fair that they should treat members in that way?
No, that's kind of it's a very modern nightmarish scenario, if you ask me, because it's like, I mean, if you can get tagged in something, if you just happen to be in relation 3 steps away from somebody on the internet, which I think we're all 3 steps away from each other, one direction or another, you know, like, is you could accidentally be tied to the other party, and then immediately kicked from yours with no course of to return. That seems like a really scary position to be in.
The opposition candidate had put, I visited this charity and what great work they do in supporting those in need. And literally the only other thing they'd wrote was, don't forget to register to vote.
Right.
I think
in the post.
I get the impression that there's like the letter of the law and there's the spirit of the law.
Exactly.
And I would imagine that you probably shouldn't be getting banned for liking other people's posts. I think it's probably more on the case of if you like Ian Cooper, for example, and you liked that kind of post or something that was egregiously anti sort of Labour ideology, etc. Maybe it could be construed that are you actually really sort of a Labour voter, etc. But yeah, I think letter and spirit of the law
you're exactly right there, Tom, because that's exactly what like to throw the rules down black and white, or do you look at the reality of what's in front of you and go, actually, that's
fine.
Yeah, that's not what's happening there. At all. But that's where I find, even though in theory it's right to highlight cross, it's good to have cross-party working on common grounds. But again, it's a bit like Reform here. Reform are in a glass house throwing stones and don't like it when they're thrown back. The Labour Party in particular are in a glass house, and there is enough practical knowledge out there to throw the stones back, to say, hang on a minute, you should be looking in the mirror at yourselves, at yourselves here before you start treading water on trying to be smarter than what you are.
And if you are kicked out of the Labour Party for whatever reason, and you've got that extra £5 a month spare, you can always donate to Burton Radio and sign up and be a patron for £5 a month. Yeah. So, I mean, silver linings, everyone, silver linings.
I asked, incidentally, I asked former NEC member and Arch Corbyn ally, Miss Raymond, who's now a Green. I think he was also visited the Your Party conference in the summer, which I'm sure was an experience for everybody who went there. But I asked Miss Raymond when he was on the Labour NEC about whether it was justified to have an auto exclusion clause within the rules, and he could not answer that question at all. And I thought, well, you're so much for you being the grassroots champion then that you claim to be.
And on that bombshell, we do have to call it here because the boys at the Hednesford are ready to go.
Right.
So thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of the Politics Show. You here next week, Will?
I am.
Good.
I am. It's Wednesday, Stoke versus Middlesbrough next week, so I will be here next week.
There you go. No worries then. No question.
No worries.
You will. There might be a Tuesday coming up in March, I think, where you could actually call me in from the Bet365 stadium.
Yeah, well. Okay.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Take care.